Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moody.
I'm Mujatali, and I was going to wear one of my patent shirts that you all love, maybe a Costco shirt, maybe one of the gray shirts I've had for 5 years. But my parents are visiting, and my mother, right as I was going to the studio, and which is my room, said, if you wear that shirt, I will tear it off you and throw it in the trash. Wear a collared shirt. So here I am, a 44-year-old man, still listening to my mother, and I'm wearing a collared shirt for all of you because she demanded that as her only child, I wear a collared shirt on the show with Danielle.
Doesn't he look nice, everybody? I thought he maybe had done Piers Morgan because that's the only other time he gets dressed up. Well, don't
Her exact words were "look like a human."
Don't show her this video with me and my t-shirt because she will be upset. So Waj, it is yet another hell week in this country that is quickly just deteriorating at a pace that I think even you and I couldn't have predicted, even though we've predicted so much. We're 6 months in. 6 months into this regime, and they show no signs of stopping. And by stopping, I mean tearing this country apart limb by limb, and then feasting off of the carcass. So let's just jump in. This is where we start out today. I'm certain, folks, you've heard this. Kristi Noem waited 72 hours to approve FEMA's deployment of search and rescue teams that could have helped save children in Texas because it cost more than $100,000. At the same time, FEMA money is being redirected to fund the $600 million Florida concentration camp, per drop site news. Talk about it.
So we have no problem spending $600 million on the alligator Alcatraz concentration camp, which, by the way, is already flooding, folks, because just on the nose, perfect metaphor. And also the ICE agents there are afraid of being attacked by the alligators. They are put in place to...
Shocker. Like, who was gonna sign up to work at a place that you could be eaten alive just for the sheer torture of other people?
That's it. Those alligators were there to eat, people who look like me and Danielle. And then I also want to remind you that Donald Trump is open to spending billions of dollars to refurbish the Qatari gift plane, which was probably bugged. And he has spent 25% of his presidency golfing to the tune of millions of dollars because it takes taxpayer dollars, right? And he's also given $5 million to Ashley Babbitt's family. Oh, Ashley Babbitt, the radicalized QAnon violent insurrectionist. So we have no problem, Danielle, wasting money on stupid shit like this. And oh, yes, last week, the billionaire bill from hell, where we're going to add $3 trillion to the deficit just so the richest people on earth can get their permanent tax cuts, but it'll come at the expense of Medicaid and SNAP. But when you have the world's dumbest, most incompetent, unqualified DUI hires in positions of power and authority, you get this. And I want to remind people, those floods in Central Texas, one of the worst floods in 100 years, over 160 people are still missing, and at least 119 people died. So when Danielle and I have been saying for the past week that this incompetence of the Trump administration has killed Texans, we mean it literally and seriously. And I give you now the news that Kristi Noem just sat on it for 3 days. And what else happened? To save money, they eliminated or gutted the National Weather Service, NOAA. And so many of those people, instead of having advance warning, were in the blind, Danielle, and they died. But they don't care, even as they have golden crosses hanging around their necks. That's my take.
Let's take a listen to Anderson Cooper. CNN was the one that broke this story with regard to...
So according to 4 officials inside FEMA, that federal response may not have been as fast as it might have been. They say that a new rule that any expenditure over $100,000 needed sign-off from Secretary Noem slowed the federal response. These sources tell us that FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams, which are typically deployed in anticipation they might be needed, instead was delayed until Monday, 3 days after the flood. Now, a source also tells us that a request Texas made for FEMA aerial imagery to aid in the search was also delayed, waiting for Secretary Noem's approval. Now, additionally, multiple FEMA officials say that they were taken aback by the agency's relatively limited response in the immediate aftermath of the disaster. CNN has reached out to FEMA for comment. So far, no reply from the agency. However, a DHS spokeswoman more generally told CNN that FEMA is, in her words, quote, shifting from bloated DC-centric dead weight to a lean deployable disaster force that empowers state actors to provide relief for their citizens.
All they do is offer bullshit spin. Like, all they do is abdicate responsibility and offer bullshit spin.
Yep.
The fact is, these are the facts. 72 hours is 3 days.
Yep.
3 days after we knew that the Christian girls' camp had been decimated, that we knew that hundreds of people were missing, that we knew that the warnings that went out did not give people the picture of just how rapidly this storm was going to increase. And so here's Kristi Noem, like Donald Trump, like all of them, that are just spinning lies and saying, oh, yes, we're making a leaner force. We're doing this, we're doing that. You're actually doing absolutely nothing. And maybe had Kristi Noem not spent so much time getting a fucking blowout and getting her face done so that she could go on Fox News and look like Ice Ice Barbie, maybe she would have had time to realize that there were actually important things on her desk other than, like, oh, I don't know, her CVS makeup and like a mirror. So I really, at the end of the day, people love, and particularly Republicans, when they are in the wrong, to say, let's not politicize this moment. I can think of no better time to politicize something when Republicans that are in charge had voted against increasing taxes to be able to help create more emergency signaling for these towns. It's called Flood Valley for a reason, right? These people are not new to this, but the fact is that the severity of climate change are making these storms increasingly deadly, right? And I just think about this, Waj. The other thing to me, too, is that because Donald Trump is stealing money from every single agency that he is shuttering to put in his own pockets and to put in the pockets of donors, what America is going to begin to look like is just city after city of ruin, because they're not going to have the money to rebuild. Yep. Right. So people who have driven through places like Detroit, places that have long been forgotten, right, that have that look like an apocalypse had hit it, with trees now growing through libraries and abandoned homes and all of these things. That is going to be the norm in America because FEMA provides emergency aid to be able to rebuild, right, to be able to get to excavate what has been ruined and then start the rebuild. Without those resources, guess what's going to happen? All of these places are just going to look like zombie towns and zombie build. That's it.
White supremacy has always been dumb and always been self-destructive, and we always try to keep the receipts here and connect the dots and democracy-ish. And I want to bring up a name that we talked about because sadly, it's the world's worst I told you so. We predicted this would happen. Folks, FEMA, very important, especially, with climate change, which is real, which Donald Trump and Republicans say is a hoax, is devastating, American cities and towns, both in red states and blue states. You would think, at the very least, there could be someone competent at the head of FEMA. I want to remind you, the head of FEMA right now is David Richardson, a man who has no experience. The FEMA leader has been a no-show after the deadly Texas floodings. He has not made a single public appearance, statement, or social media posting since last week's flood. Former FEMA officials say that's, quote, concerning, according to a Politico article. I also want to remind you that he came in the news for all the worst reasons, because there was a leak that FEMA officials were deeply troubled that our current acting director of FEMA had no idea that America has a hurricane season. So they were asking him, what's our plan for hurricane season? And he said, what's that? And then they said, America has a hurricane season. He said, so maybe when you get David Richardson as the head of FEMA, who has no experience, Chrissy Nome, who spends more time cosplaying and putting junk in her face than actually, keeping us safe, as the head of DHS, and wears a $50,000 Rolex watch to pose in front of a modern day gulag, which were the prisoners in El Salvador, right? Maybe, Daniel, maybe this is what will happen. Maybe if you let the world's richest man, Elon Musk, buy the presidency or rent it for a while for $300 million, and then give him and his teenage incels Doge the keys to the kingdom and let him friggin' take a chainsaw to our government and gut, USAID, which has now, as a result of the shutting down of USAID, they say at least 300,000 people have been killed. As of today, we're finding out there's going to be massive layoffs at the State Department. What could go wrong? Layoffs at the Department of Veteran Affairs, because you have to save money by letting go of veterans. Layoffs at FAA, layoffs at National Institute of Health, layoffs at NOAA. What do you think, Danielle, is going to happen? All the people who voted for Donald Trump, what did you think was going to happen? Oh, yes. He'll go after the transgender and the migrants, and he'll make the price of milk go down. And we kept saying, really? Will he? And also, if he does, at what cost? And Danielle, the cost is apparently human lives. And I was saying this to Danielle right before we press record, despite all this. Mm-hmm. And, I'm my friends, my kids' friends in this community, folks, a lot of folks went for Trump. And I have to talk to these folks at the pool. I have to. And I listen to them. I keep my mouth shut. I just listen because I don't have the energy. And you know what someone said? He goes, yeah, climate change is real. But I think climate alarmism is also real. And, there's one thing about human beings. And I thought he was going to say we have a capacity for self-destruction. And you know what he said? We're very adaptable. And I wanted to say, what? Are we going to become Aquaman and have gills, Danielle?
Well, I mean,
are you adaptable when you're dead?
In 100 or 200 years, that will be the case. But the fact is that no, we're not adaptable. We have infrastructure that crumbles under too much heat. Yep. Right? If folks recall, Heathrow Airport in London was shut down last summer for several days because guess what? The tarmac was melting. Yep. We have bridges that buckle under heat. We're not supposed to be existing in, and our bodies can't tolerate heat that is at 100 degrees Fahrenheit and up for consecutive days. We're watching this past week, there were monsoon type flooding in Italy, in France. It's happening all around the world. Right. And we think, oh, yeah, people are adaptable. Actually, they're not. Nope. We see air. At least right now, you see air warnings that will go out. As you notice, as when the weather is hotter, that the air is more polluted because it's not being moved around, because the humidity just has it sitting on top of us. And what do they say? For those with asthma, for those that are elderly, stay indoors. Yep. How much further are we going to be able to go when it's not going to be safe to go outside at all, right? For a week at a time. But we're not going to get those alerts because guess what? All of those people were fired, right? So again, we don't recognize, and I did an interview with a NOAA employee who was fired. And that is up right now, folks, on my Substack. And I did this interview and with Tom Libretto, and he said, De Libretto, and he said, the beauty of NOAA and the National Weather Service is that you didn't need to know it was working. That's how you knew it was working, right? Because
you don't have to worry about it.
Because you don't have to worry about it. Yep. And now you see exactly what happens when you don't have the people with 30-year institutional knowledge of particular regions that get hit in certain ways that they've been covering and following and tracking all of this time. So now what you see is the result of this government shrinking that is happening. You're going to see veterans die, children die, which we are already seeing, folks, and we're 6 fucking months in.
Yep.
But speaking of people having jobs that they shouldn't, um, let's just take a look. I don't know, Waj, how many people inside of Trump's cabinet right now have more than one job? So evidently, the only prior qualification that you needed in order to be the transportation secretary was to having been on a reality TV show, Road Rules and Real World. And now Sean Duffy, who when he took over the job, planes were falling out of the sky and air traffic controllers were quitting. Now he's in charge of NASA. And guess what, folks? Just to say this, Donald Trump has named Sean Duffy as interim NASA administrator. He's the current transportation secretary, former MTV reality TV star, no science background whatsoever. And his tweet was, "Get ready to take over space." What do you know about space at all outside of probably what you watch on TV?
White supremacy remains self-destructive and stupid. And another potential title for today's show was "We're being killed by the dumbest people on earth." Danielle and I are of a certain age where we saw Sean Duffy as a horny young guy on Real World, and then he married another Real World alum, and now they have like 9 kids. And then he went all hardcore right-wing MAGA, and he became the Secretary of Transportation. And after, planes started dropping from the sky immediately after Doge made massive cuts to the FAA, because Elon Musk wants deregulation and wants to help his own business and his own rockets, and he wanted to punish the FAA for giving him a fine for safety violations. What did Pete Hegseth and Sean Duffy say? They blamed DEI. That was their number one priority. Go look at that press conference, folks. It was Trump, Sean Duffy, Pete Hegseth, blaming DEI and talking about, excellence and, it's all projection. The fact that I'm even saying this is it's driving my mind. Like it's like melting my brain in real time, because Pete Hegseth, completely unqualified to be the Secretary of Defense. Sean Duffy, completely qualified, in over his head for being Secretary of Transportation. But it was so bad, folks, that as Newark Airport was openly saying, we lost, track for like 90 seconds, and we're kind of flying blind here. He moved the flights of his family that were supposed to land in Newark, right? So he protected his own family, and kind of everyone else was like, "Yo, what are you doing about Newark? What's happening?" He's like, no worries. And now that guy is the head of NASA. And I think the reason why he's the head of NASA, this is me thinking, like, if I'm a grifter and corrupt and cynical like Donald Trump, what I would do, it's all about the yes men. He's shown his loyalty, so that's all that matters. Loyalty, not experience, not competence. And what he's going to do as the head of NASA now is, I think, essentially cockblock Elon Musk and his contracts. That's why I think Sean Duffy's there. What do you think?
I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest. I don't even give a shit why he is there. What I do know is that America will lose every single advancement that we have made in space, in the space program. That essentially, I just want folks to think about it like this, because I thought about it. I've been thinking about it every day this week. American innovation and progress is now going to be stuck in the year 2024.
Yep.
For however long that this regime reigns, that's how long America will be stuck at a time of acceleration, right? We're in the midst of the next major technological accelerator. And America, which had its finger on the pulse in so many different industries, now has lost all of that institutional knowledge, has lost all of that brain power. People are literally fleeing this country in order to go and be courted by other nations in order to bring their skill set. And what is going to be left is this hollowed out, ruined America that looks like you'll visit it in the same way that you go to Greece to visit the ruins and say, my, wasn't the Roman Empire, wasn't, the Greek Empire, wasn't it amazing, so many eons ago? And that is what America is going to be in the next year or two, which is that it isn't just the space program. It isn't just NOAA. It isn't just the National Weather Service. It is our doctors. It is our engineers. It is our nurses. It is our health administrators. It is our teachers. Like every industry, folks, the people who are able to leave, have the resources and the privilege to leave, are seeing the writing on the wall
Yep.
as their grants are drying up, as their ability to like build the life that they want without fear is building up. These people are going to be fleeing in droves. And who is going to be left, unfortunately, are the underskilled, right? People who have been left behind because they haven't been invested in, because we don't invest in low income communities. We don't invest in low skilled workers, and that's what's going to be left. They're just going to be people that you plug into cogs into machine and grind into shit.
Yep.
And America will literally be at a standstill, and that's it.
It's a retrenchment, and we're already seeing it within 6 months. And I talked to David Rothkopf about this, and we've been discussing. You have to just look at it in real time and use common sense. Is that within 6 months they have done, and by they I mean MAGA and Donald Trump, generational damage, folks. As Danielle was saying, generational damage. We cannot snap our fingers and bring it back, in 2026 with the Infinity Gauntlet, or in 2028. Generational damage because of our unwillingness to confront and uproot our twin sins of white supremacy and capitalism, racism and greed. And I'll give you an example, right, of this generational damage that Daniel was talking about with the attack on universities, with the attack on immigrants, with the attack and gutting of our institutions such as National Institute of Health, gutting all the grants that Danielle was talking about of leading scientists doing cutting edge work. Oh, I don't know, in cancer research, in AI, in technology, right? What happens? Just common sense. What happens? Those people say, you know what? America used to be the technological center. Why did our parents why did most of us come here to this country, right? My dad's generation came here because I will get the best education where? In America. I will be able to flex my talents. And then there is a chance for me, maybe just maybe with luck and hard work and education, to move on up in America, right? Maybe middle class, upper middle class. And then I'll bring my family over and then we'll have a chance of upward mobility. But what was the root of it, Danielle, for especially people like my dad and his generation who came through 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act? Primarily education. Yep. Education was the ticket for my father and his brother and their generation of really bright kids who were in Pakistan. And at that right age, when America finally lifted the quotas that were put in place due to racism, right, and greed since the 1920s. And now that brain that helped create America, that immigrant brain, right, in technology, doctors, scientists, all of that is now not just gone, folks, because we are literally blocking those people, deporting those people, but just to put a pin on it before we move on, China and Europe and Japan are now aggressily
opening their doors,
literally saying, "Oh, America was paying you for that grant. We'll double it." And now all of these folks now are fleeing and being poached by our rivals. And we can laugh at China for it has its own problems, but China on AI, folks, they ain't messing around. So when we're looking at the future of technology and the cutting edge science, it ain't happening in America anymore. It's happening in China. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in Japan. And there's being a brain drain, but also the brains are fleeing the sinking ship that is the United States of America.
And look, I said this, folks, to Waj right before we came on. I said, what are you thinking? Because you have 3 kids, a wife, you have your parents, etc., obviously friends, community, but we're 6 months in. This isn't getting any better. And you need to create an exit strategy. And I'm saying that to every single person that is watching, because the writing is on the wall. Yeah. And yes, you stay and fight to a certain extent, and you have to be able to think about what fighting looks like for you. Because at the end of the day, America, I believe, is going to be lost for at least 2 generations.
Yeah.
We're not going to see the rebuild of this country in our lifetimes unless something incredibly, major happens in the next 6 months of, like, again, the national strike, again, people fighting back and saying, we're not working, we're not showing up, we'll stay in the streets until this regime is gone. And even then, folks, like, think about the hundreds of billions of dollars that was given to ICE is not just for ICE, it is for dissent, right? It is for the militarization of America. And so there is a small amount of time to be able to think and make choices about where to go and what to do. And I say that as a person who, again, steeped here, family here, friends here, all of those things. But at some point in time, you want to say, you know what? I'm glad I put these things in order for myself because I got to go. And what I'm saying is now is the time for that ordering of your next steps, because the idiocracy is going to kill us. The hate is going to kill us. We'll get to the measles in a moment because that sure as fuck is going to kill us and has already killed people. But here's where we are. Speaking of stupidity again, and putting the most absurd people in charge. Thank God for the Rolling Stone. The headline says beyond parody because that's how fucking stupid this is. Waj, please tell the people.
They don't care. To them, this is a joke. To them, owning the libs is more important than people having healthcare. To them, this is all about trolling. It's all about pawning. It's all about teabagging. And I give you Sean Duffy as the head of NASA. I give you Pete Kexeth. I give you Kristi Noem. But at least they had some experience in something. Marco Rubio now doing 3 jobs because, of course, make the only Latino do 3 jobs in the administration, and he's a Reek. He says, sure. Then this is how you know that they don't care. They're nihilists. They're willing to burn it all down as long as them and their friends get all the cookies. Thomas Fugate, someone mentioned it. We were running out of time, folks. That's why. I just literally ran out of time. I didn't forget Thomas Fugate, but we have a really smart audience. They brought it up. The head of countering violent extremism in America, while we're witnessing the #1 domestic terror threat, white supremacists, increase their number of violent attacks, is 22-year-old ex-grocer Thomas Fugate. I'm not making that up. And now, our ambassador to Malaysia is Hooters-obsessed MAGA diehard Nick Adams, a complete just nut who Donald Trump gave verbal fellatio to in a Trump social post. And just listen to his own words. I think Daniel pulled up the clip.
Unfortunately, today, it's more important to be a minority than it is to be a qualified person. We're going to be delivering truth bombs. How the most persecuted group in the United States of America are straight, white, Christian men. That's the reality. We're going to be talking about the need for men to be men and women to be women.
Danielle, as a Black queer woman and daughter of immigrants, how did you feel upon learning that white straight Christian men are the most persecuted minority in America?
I'm sorry, I blacked out when he started talking. So I think nothing of it because that would be like listening to a gerbil. And I think I'd be more excited about that. What I love so much about this, however, is this exchange that made me super happy that you posted. Nick Adams, alpha male. Like, did he put that in his own bio? Alpha males eat wings and drink beer at Hooters with the boys. Beta males nibble on tapas at Spanish vegan cafes with their wives. As a former Hooters girl, Devani Pinn says, I can assure you, only betas who like to think they were alpha males ate there, and we laughed when you left.
I love it.
And I just have to say, here's how you know you're not an alpha male. When you need to put it in the title, your header, and then also talk about being an alpha male. That is the sure point that you're not. And I wouldn't even say that they're beta. I don't know how far down into the Greek alphabet one can get, but that's wherever he is.
Omega. The alpha to the omega. And the funny thing with these people, it's all projection, like you mentioned. the deep, deep insecurity with their masculinity. The fact that if you watch I'm a masochist. If you look at right-wing media and you look at many of the ads, you know what the ads are for, folks? I'm not making this up. Stuff for like sexual stimulation, like horny goat weed, penile erection stuff. That's the number one of the major source of ad revenues for these sites, right? If you look at go, I'm seriously, go look at research in the Google searches for like sexual dysfunction and like it's all in these red counties that went Trump. And one of my favorite, I just love this. This is just one of those. I pull it out from my back pocket because it's beautiful. Testicular tanning. Thank you, E. Schwartz. Not making that up. That was Tucker Carlson pawning that. Horny goat weed. Yes, S. Beresford. I'm not making that up. You can go Google all this stuff. During the RNC, Grindr, which is basically Tinder, but for LGBTQ, mostly gay men, right?
It's mostly gay men.
Yeah, they showed a heat map of their usage. And during the RNC in Wisconsin, there was a huge spike. Right, the dot was right there. You want to take a guess where it was? The huge spike?
Like on the convention center?
Like inside the convention center. And so, Stuart Stevens has talked about it. He's a former, a Rhino, Lincoln Project dude. A journalist friend I know who hung out with these guys told me like 6 years ago, all these MAGA freaks, he made a documentary. He said when they get drunk, he said a lot of the dudes who are alpha guys, they got really grabby with him. He's a straight man. And he kept saying, no, dude, I'm good. When they got drunk, a lot of them got really grabby with him, not her, him. And Stuart Stevens said a lot of these guys are deeply closeted gay dudes. And then Tucker Carlson openly asked in one of his interviews, he goes, yeah, these closeted gay Republicans that seem to be war hawks. And everyone's like, who are you talking about? Oh, I don't know, Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, and others. So Danielle, it's all projection all the time from the world's like most insecure men, because like you said, no alpha has to say he's alpha. He shows he's alpha. Women know he's alpha. Other men know he's alpha, right? And then this deep, deep fear of men not being men and women not being women. I'm convinced a lot of these people are DL gay or are deeply, deeply, deeply insecure with their sexuality.
I mean, here's the thing. I wish that they would just go to fucking therapy instead of taking out their insecurities on the fucking rest of us. Because let me tell you, I don't know anything stronger and more powerful than people that live inside of their own skin, regardless of what people say about them. They always want to, and I say this and I'll say it again. The reason why trans people are such a target for the Republican MAGA people is because you will never see bolder fucking people than people that are trans who say to the rest of the world, this is who I am, this is how I'm showing up, and stand true in their power. It is terrifying to people that are so small and insecure that these people would risk, right? Personal safety. There was just recently a Black trans woman was murdered in Washington, D.C. They have the highest murder rate in this country, Black trans women. There is nothing more powerful, right, than trans folks showing up and being who they are. And so for them, for these small, scared little boys, they need to beat down these people. They need to kill these people. They need to distance themselves from these people because they distance themselves from their own fucking shadows.
That's right.
So everything, as people said and think, everything is fucking projection. Everything that they do, because everybody who is around them that is better than them, they know it. They see it. And the only way that they can feel better, can feel bigger, is to step on the backs of other people.
And also the hypocrisy. And let me show you what a real MAGA man does. I'm just fast forwarding for a second. We'll go back and rewind because I think it's just so on point. Danielle, tell him about that real Christian Republican man, Ken Paxton, who loves his wife and children.
Oh, yeah. So Ken Paxton, been cheating, been a cheater. Wife comes out and says, today, after 38 years of marriage, I filed for divorce on biblical grounds.
Mm.
Oh, Jesus married you himself. I believe marriage is a sacred covenant, and I have earnestly pursued reconciliation. But in light of recent discoveries, say more, Angela, say more. I do not believe that it honors God or is loving to myself, my children, or to Ken to remain in this marriage. I move forward with complete confidence that God is always working everything together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. Girl, you said a lot of words and you didn't need a lot of words. The man is a fucking cheater. He also should be in jail because he's a fucking grifter and was indicted for multiple crimes, but then cleared of all of them and was able to get back the reins of power. And he's been cheating on you. And I would love to find out it isn't with women. So here's the thing. All of these people, projection, projection, projection. They want their women wearing that diamond cross right above the cleavage, and following all of these biblical rules while they go out and do the absolute total fucking worst. Like,
my bad. I didn't mean to do that. I want my bad. Here, let's go back.
Yeah, I'll go back.
What I wanted to say is, I love this because she waited to really stab him in the back. Because listen, it was, I think, last year she had to, these allegations came out of his predilection for blonde women. He likes the blondies like Donald Trump. And, as being a Christian man, he committed adultery, and she had to sit there and listen to all these tawdry details come out, and she still stood by her man, and she decided to work on the marriage. Well, I would predict, Danielle, that Ken Paxton went to his old non-Christian ways. And she stuck the knife in him at a time where, guess what? There is going to be a vacancy in Texas, and he was planning on running for Senate. So she might have just derailed his chances to become the next senator of Texas. Was it worth it? I don't care. I love MAGA on MAGA Prime.
I don't care.
I couldn't care less. He's a terrible human being, as Danielle said, in addition to his moral failings, whatever. But the fact that this man is just cruel, a racist, mean, complicit with MAGA, corrupt, and his wife is the one who shivved him. And the wife sat there and went along with it for as long as she could. But again, just connecting the dots and throwing it out there, I don't know. I'm very confident. In fact, if you asked me to bet, I would bet all my limited money that Kenny boy went back to his old non-Christian ways, Danielle.
Yeah, and I'm certain that he'll blame the gays for it somehow, some way.
That's what I think Charlotte Kleiber said. She was transgender activist, and she said, I look forward to how Ken Paxton can blame transgender folks for his adultery with blonde women. I'm waiting.
Yeah, 100%. And while we wait, just some more on the wheel of fuckery that we're spinning today. Measles, folks. Cases hit record high 25 years after U.S. eliminated the disease. If you want to take a look down at this chart, in 2000, measles was declared eliminated in the United States, and move the needle to today, and you see it up at 1250. So, I don't know. Maybe pray about it, because I hear that works. I hear if you pray measles away, just like the gay away, those things work. What say you, Wash?
I believe in God. I do pray. I'm a practicing Muslim, and I will say that's stupid. And religious leaders would say no. God, through human ingenuity, has given you vaccines. Do not deny the bounties of your Lord. Be pro-life, anti-death. Save as many people as you can through vaccines. Because of human ingenuity and science, we have vaccines that keep us safe from diseases that used to kill people, like polio and, like measles. And measles is very
cough, which is making a nice return as well.
Rubella, bird flu, which has now jumped into humans. And because of this anti-science, anti-intelligence, anti-life, administration, but the Trump regime killed a $600 million contract with Moderna that was going to fast track a vaccine for bird flu. Because again, folks, even though it's not a big deal right now, it has jumped to humans. And you know what was not a big deal until it became a big deal and ended up killing more than 1 million Americans thanks to vaccine hesitation and lies? COVID. Danielle, I got to say this. I've said this before. I got to say this because it's always been on my mind. And now we're thinking about these religious people who quote the Bible, have the cross right above the cleavage. There are these stories, whether you believe or not, but these stories have existed for a while. Stories are powerful. They give morals. In the Old Testament and the Quran, there's always a story. And one of these two stories I've always brought up because they've just been in my mind. I was thinking about it last night, to be honest, as thinking about measles and friggin' self-destruction of America. And these two stories, the story of Noah and Moses, very quickly, for those who don't know. Noah's like, yo, I'm a prophet of God. There's going to be a flood. People are like, you're stupid, Noah. He goes, I'm going to go build an ark. Builds a big ass ark. Should be sign number 1. Then the animals start going in the ark. I don't know, sign number 2. Then Danielle, I can still, say maybe you'll be like, I don't know, skeptical. Then the rain starts, right? According to the story, the rain's at their knees, the rain's at their waist. And Noah says, yo, I made an ark. And they're like, nah, you're silly, Noah. I'm going to stay right here. And then they die. All right. Story about Moses. Moses is like, all right, God wants to take down this Pharaoh. There's going to be plagues. Plagues come. Fogs drop from the sky. Blood in the water, right? All right, we're going to leave. They leave. Red Sea parts, right? Pharaoh dies. Manna comes from heaven. Moses says, I had to go talk to God for 40 days. Whatever you do, just don't have an orgy and worship a golden calf for 40 days. If I don't come back in 41 days, orgy away. And I'm not sure he said that, but probably, right? He comes back and like human beings are like, it's been about 2 weeks. You know what we should do? Orgy and golden calf. And then Moses comes back. And the reason why I mentioned these stories, right? I was reading them as a kid and I'm like, surely human beings can't be that self-destructive. These are exaggerated stories for, to give us lessons and morals. And then I saw COVID, Danielle. And I'm like, these stories make sense to me. I literally believe if, God forbid, there was a Noah situation and like the scientists created this big ark.
Yep.
They would say, nah, this is just fake digital water.
They wouldn't even say, they would burn down the ark.
They would burn down the ark.
Because it wouldn't even be a choice for everybody else who wants to get on the ark and realizes that the flood is actually coming. They would burn down the ark.
I mean, am I wrong? I said that story. I know everyone knows that story. Every religion. We all know. It just shows you, though, those stories, right? They reflect human nature, Danielle. That this is how self-destructive certain parts of humanity have been. And we thought we have evolved enough, advanced enough, seen enough, been given science.
Nope.
People used to die from, like, if they just had penicillin, so many people would live. We have penicillin. You know what I'm saying? Like, people used to, even in Mitch McConnell's lifetime, we don't have to go that far back. All right. Mitch McConnell got polio. And he's like, yo, this kills people. The ark is best comment of the day. Comment of the day.
I need that on a fucking t-shirt.
Daniel, I mean, I was thinking about this last night. Really, I was just like, in my brain just started melting. Like this is human. This is human nature. Like
and you know what else is human nature? This, because this is who these people are, folks. We're being killed by the stupidest people, the vilest people, the most nihilistic people. Here is a congressperson talking to another member of Congress and saying that she is a Muslim terrorist. Is he censored?
Nope.
Is he fined?
Nope.
Does anything happen to this man? No. Here's a statement from Jeffries. The unhinged, racist, and Islamophobic comments made by Randy Fine about Representative Ilhan Omar are bigoted and disgusting. We are just weeks removed from heinous acts of political violence targeting elected officials in Minnesota for assassination. This is an incredibly difficult time for our nation. Members of Congress should be solving problems for American people, not inciting violence. Randy Fine must apologize immediately. Apologize for what? Being a dick? Being himself? Apologize for what? They don't apologize. But yet they want everybody else to apologize for existing. I didn't pull the video, Waj, because you know what? Because I'm not going to continue to circulate it, of these right-wing people saying that Mamdani needs to apologize for global intifada for these lies that they make up. And just by virtue of being brown, being Muslim, that you must apologize on behalf of billions of people, right? For the sheer crime of existing. But we don't ask them, these white nationalists, so where are you to apologize on behalf of Vance Butler, who killed 2 people and their dog and had a hit list to assassinate 70 others? We don't say and pull up Mike Johnson and say, so what do you say about this white evangelical nationalist who in Trump's name killed these people? No, because they never have to apologize for anything that they do, but everyone else is subject to being a criminal or a terrorist by virtue of their religion or their skin color. And I'm fucking tired of it.
Or how about last week? Let's just go to last week. Your king and your daddy, Donald Trump, a 79-year-old man who was raised in New York and who knows this term, openly said Shylock, referring to bankers. And then when asked about it, doubled down. Any condemnation?
Nope.
It took ADL a day to come out with a tepid type of criticism, a day. But when it comes to pro-Palestinian chants, folks, that's the double standard, the racism. You know, when people say, well, what racism, what double standard? This, Randy Fine knows he can say this. This is not his first time, folks. We've covered on the show before. Openly saying this as an elected official from Florida because he knows the base likes it. He knows he has cover. He knows how the media works. He knows Islamophobia is tolerated. Anti-Muslim bigotry is tolerated. Throwing undocumented people under the bus is tolerated. Throwing the woke under the bus is tolerated. And he knows nothing will happen. Can you imagine if a Democrat said that and just replaced the religion with, I don't know, Christians or Jews? What? It would be nonstop until Schumer threw him under the bus. And Schumer threw Ilhan Omar under the bus a couple of years ago at AIPAC. And Ilhan Omar has had death threats. And you know who also has had death threats in the last couple of weeks?
Mamdani.
Mamdani, and a friend of mine who knows Mamdani and the family, his mom, Miranair, the director, told my friend, please convince Zoran, this was a couple of weeks ago, to get security. I'm worried about his life. And then he finally got security.
Well, good.
That's the double standards.
Yeah. So moving on, as we round out today's wheel of fuckery. So here's what happens. Here's, again, in real time, what is happening when you support Donald Trump's policies, when you throw your own state and your constituents under the bus. Virginia drops in America's top states for business rankings. Federal job cuts are a big reason. Representative Don Beyer writes this: Governor Youngkin defended mass firings in our Commonwealth, and Lieutenant Governor Sears went so far as to mock Virginians who lost their jobs. This is what happens when Trump slams Virginia's economy, and our leaders who should stand up to him, cheer for him instead. And I just want you to take a listen to Mike Pence.
Watched a little bit of the cabinet meeting this week. And I saw Secretary Bessent speaking very glowingly about the projection is $300 billion in tariff revenue this year. Well, tariffs are a tax. And American importers and businesses and ultimately consumers pay almost all of that. And so literally a week after we managed to extend the Trump-Pence tax cuts and prevent a $2,000 tax increase on working families, the administration is right now boasting of the fact that that the average American household is going to see about $3,000 increase in the cost of goods because we're paying that. So that's why I referred to Liberation Day. I said could well be the largest peacetime tax hike in American history.
That was that flaming leftist communist Mike Pence, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened in the morning? Breaking news. I couldn't put it in the outline for us because it was literally like at 2 a.m. Trump announces 35% tariffs on Canada. What do you think is going to happen, Danielle?
This country is just like we're just on the Titanic doing a podcast. It's basically what we're doing.
And it'll
That's
be
what,
us. It was an honor, Danielle.
yeah, it was an honor, Waj. I'm so glad to have been with you through this. And then things continue to get stupider, because ICE agents, like the people who are directing them, don't know that Puerto Rico is part of the United States. So what did ICE agents decide to do most recently? And then they also did something completely vile in California. Targeted the Puerto Rican Museum to round up U.S. citizens. Yeah. Okay.
Tom Homan, Human Concrete, said this, quote, people need to understand ICE officers and Border Patrol don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them based on their physical appearance. I'm like, what? No. And so Tom Homan, who is the czar of border security, Human Concrete, just complete freak, now is openly saying that, oh no, this is what ICE does. They don't need probable cause to go up to anybody based on their physical appearance to briefly detain them, his words, and question them. Would you come to America for the 2026 World Cups? Would you come to America for the 2028 Olympics that is in Los Angeles?
I mean, if I'm the FIFA committee, if I'm the Olympic committee, I'm sending the games to Canada and to Mexico, and I'm going to bypass the United States. And if I'm the Olympic committee, I'm saying, maybe not so fucking much, because I don't want to put the athletes, coaches, families, and, people and the audience in jeopardy. Because this is also what is happening, folks. So Ventura County, California farm had children running from tear gas, kids crying as mom is kidnapped by ICE Nazis.
Do not panic, do not run! Do not run! Stay calm!
I just this is where we live. This is what this is now.
Children. There were children, folks. Children were being tear gassed.
Yeah, so I'm not going to close on the Superman note. I actually just want to close on some actual good news, because I feel like we have just bombarded you all with everything that you probably missed in the headlines, because there's just so much. There is just so much. But one piece of good news, Waj, and I thank you for finding it for us, is this. So I will give you the honors.
Mahmoud Khalil is a pro-Palestinian activist, a Palestinian student at Columbia University. To this day, has committed 0 crimes. There have been no criminal charges filed against him. His only crime was his skin, his ethnicity, and the fact he advocated for a free Palestine and an end to the occupation and genocide, along with a multiracial, multi-religious community that is increasingly against Israel's genocidal war. For that reason, to make an example out of him, Marco Rubio, using this archaic loophole as Secretary of State, ordered him to be detained without due process, falsely imprisoned for 104 days. 104 days without any criminal charges. He was in a Louisiana detention center. They refused to release him. His Palestinian-American wife is a citizen, was pregnant. He missed the birth of his child. And after 104 days without any criminal charges against him, after being smeared with lies, he was finally released. And like the baller that he is, went straight back to Colombia and started the protests again. And now, I love it, He's seeking $20 million for the Trump administration over what he says was his false imprisonment, malicious prosecution, and the smearing of his good name. I hope he gets all of it. I don't think he'll get a penny because they're so vindictive and so cruel. They'll take this all the way up to the Supreme Court, probably won't even get there. And you'll see the double standard. I want to remind people that Donald Trump pardoned 1,600 violent insurrections. I want to remind people that $5 million of your taxpayer dollars went to pay the family of Ashley Babbitt, a radicalized QAnon nut who was part of the violent insurrection that was there to turn over a free and fair election and potentially harm elected officials. They gave $5 million to her family. So, will Mahmoud Khalil get his $20 million? I hope he gets more. I hope he gets everything. Danielle.
Yeah, I just, I again, because of just the court system and where we live, the hellscape that we're in, I doubt that he will see that money anytime soon. But I think that him, along with everyone that has been wrongfully detained and released, should absolutely follow suit and sue for damages. I think every single one of them should, because the precedent matters. The record matters, and this needs to be on the record. I just, I commend him. I don't know if I am him, if I've been in prison for 104 days, if I get out and I go back to protesting. Maybe I would, maybe not. But I think that he's an extraordinary human.
Can I give you some other good news?
Please.
It's been 6 months, right? It's been 6 months. Give me 1 second. I want to get you the numbers because I remember I just retweeted this right before I came.
Okay.
Check it out, folks. New Gallup poll. It's been 6 months. Donald Trump's strong suit was what? Immigration. He always pivots to immigration because that's what he believes will win him with the base, right? Remember that? They had those signs, deport, 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 right? So what's a good distraction? Go back to my strong card. Tough on crime, tough on immigrants, tough on immigrants, tough on immigrants. New Gallup poll. Trump's approval on immigration is completely lopsided. 35 positive, 62 negative. Now there's a record high approval of immigration, 79 to 17. 78% of people support a pathway to citizenship, plus 8 from last year, Danielle. Only 38% support mass deportation, minus 9 from 2024. 30% want decrease in immigration, negative 25 from 2024. So it's almost as if in real time, people are being radicalized. And it's almost as if people said, I didn't vote for Abrego Kilmar Garcia to be tortured or students to be kidnapped or friggin' grandma and grandpa to be detained or to be harassed in my home or 7-Eleven or at farms. And it's almost as if you had an opposition party that led with values and conviction and messaged appropriately, you can galvanize the people with a better story. Your take, Danielle.
I mean, my take is this. Look, it is going to take the people to rise up in order to right this ship. It is going to take the people not investing their time and energy in a party that shows cowardice, that shows their sheepishness, that shows their impishness, like the Democrats. I think that people need to recognize that we still have power, that we still have to stop waiting for people to do right by us and rescue us and say, oh, okay, we're going to bless you with midterms. No, like we don't get them, right? Then we go out into the streets. Like we have the power, we have the numbers. People just need to find the will. And that's what I say today. That's my ending note, is that we spin this wheel to show you all of the things that are happening, not as a way to make you feel hopeless, but as a way to open up your eyes to how quickly America has deteriorated, but how much power we, the people, still have.
Yep.
You need to channel your anger, channel your rage, not into hopelessness, into sitting on the couch and feeling and throwing up your hands, but into engagement, into connecting with other people, into community activity, into fighting back and figuring out what your resistance looks like. That is the point of spinning this wheel.
We like to connect the dots. We like to keep you informed. In order to change the system, you have to know what the system is doing. We're not interested in restoration. We're interested in reform. And we're interested in doing this with the majority. We can imagine something better. We deserve something better. Our children deserve a better America and a better future. And damn it, if I'm going to be killed, I want to make sure I'm not killed by the dumbest, most corrupt people on earth. At least give me a supervillain that I can respect, Danielle. But I don't plan to go out without a fight. Neither does Danielle. This is independent media, folks. Danielle and I had a foot in corporate media. We used to get invited. We don't anymore. You can wonder why. And I don't care. I don't care. I'm 44. I can't play. I can't play the game. I don't want to play the game. I'm done with it. As Danielle said, miss me with the bullshit. I think that's the word in Arabic, bullshit. This is independent media. We had about 1,500 people watching on a Friday. Thank you so much, everyone. Everything is free. Danielle and I, as the children of immigrants, my parents are here visiting. They're just in pain because they're like, why do you keep everything for free? Even Jim Acosta has a paywall. Even Joy Reid has a paywall on comments. And then they kept saying, talk to Danielle about this. And I said, Danielle's the same way. And they're like, no, of all the people you could be paired with. So there's no paywalls. You pay what you can. It goes a long way. We have 2 Substacks, Damn Digest.
Yep.
For those who joined us a bit late, we're going to have this conversation up in its entirety.
Yep.
And there's also the Left Hook Substack, where, again, there's no paywalls. You pay what you can. And also, this is being hosted on Danielle's YouTube show, Danielle Moody on YouTube, where Danielle has crossed the 25K threshold, is now in 27K. Mm-hmm. And if you just subscribe, this is what helps the algorithm. Just press the bell. You'll be notified. Like this video when it's out in like 2 minutes once we publish it. And all these people who give us these tips, guys, this goes such a long way. Underneath the video, you'll see like a circle with ... If you press on that circle, you'll see a $sign. It's basically tips. You call super chatters. And these $10, $20, $50. $50. I mean, it goes along. Phoebe, another 50. I don't know what we did today to get these 50 Whoppers. For us, this is like $50. Oh my God. We can have ice cream. Danielle can have her nice coffee. But it goes a long way. It's a community-based show. We only respond to our readers and our viewers. We do not bend the knee to any corporation. And you all have been with us and have helped us grow. We're live Monday and Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. And then Wednesday, we do a check-in because there's so much chaos. We just spin the wheel on Wednesday and come up with something new. Danielle.
Waj, so this weekend, I am going to finish Andor Season 2.
Oh, great.
If I get through Andor Season 2, then on Wednesday, we will do Andor, the review.
And I'm seeing Superman tonight.
And I have promised I will get it done, friends.
Do you want to go see Superman?
Oh, dear God. Can I just get to Andor first, Season 2?
Superman's out. I'm going to go see it tonight in IMAX.
Of course you are.
For the children.
Because of the children. Sure, the children are going to be in bed. Why is it with this monster popcorn?
I got it. And my wife is like, you got Superman tickets for the whole family? I'm like, yes. Like, what time? 10:30. At night? I said, yes, for the children. And my daughter was like, what, Superman? And she's like, what's wrong? So the whole family is going to IMAX, baby. Tonight. It's going to happen.
10:30.
Yeah. And my wife's like, why? We have to get up early. I'm like, the children. And she goes, sure. So we're going to go tonight, 10:30 for the kids, the whole family.
Yeah. Okay. Folks, thank you for listening to and watching and supporting and showing up for Democracy-ish. We know that this is a hellscape. We are going to get through this together. We appreciate every single one of you. We will be back on Monday where Waj can tell us how his children stayed up until that movie's probably like 3 hours long, poor things, until 1 a.m. watching Superman. We'll see you back here 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Have an amazing weekend, folks. We appreciate you.
Hey, everyone. And also, I'm going to be going live with Allison in about 5 minutes. So tune into that. I don't know. I know. And then Danielle, when are you going back live? Are you relaxing today? Or
I'm not going to go live again probably until Susan. My goodness, you are coming in hot today. We appreciate Cafe Du Monde. You know my coffee. That's right. Thank you so much. I'm not going live again today. I'm actually going to do something crazy like take a break.
Hey.
But I may go live over the weekend, folks. So just stay tuned. But otherwise, Danielle Moody Show back Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Waj and I back 12 p.m. Eastern. And videos will go up all weekend as usual. We appreciate you, and we'll see you back on Monday. Go watch Waj now on his Substack because he doesn't ever take a break.